Yeah. What's happening, party people? Welcome to Punch Board Party. My name is Daniel. This is not Father Greg. Father Greg was occupied this week. He made a PowerPoint full of professional wrestling images that would be the backdrop for Simon and Garfunkel's Bridge Over Troubled Water. I am not going to explain anything more of that.
Yeah, that's very confusing and mysterious, but his loss is my gain because I've been waiting to be invited onto the channel for over a year now, and I am
What took me so long?
I'm so excited for my YouTube debut. I have a really good feeling about this, so I hope that you guys like watching me as much as you liked watching Father Greg.
What are we doing today, Sarah?
I am going to share my top 10 games with you.
Yes! So my beautiful, amazing, just incredible wife Sarah will be sharing her top 10 board games of all time in lieu of our, what will we be at, 30 to 21 that Father Greg and I are going to do. We're going to get right back on it next week. But in the meantime, I'm very excited for this. I don't know what Sarah's list is.
This was a very hard, what's the word? Like challenge or activity for me because I'm so indecisive. So I came down, looked at all our games. Daniel helped me out with a little app thing.
Yeah, we used Pub Meeple again for Sarah. Yeah. We put in just a handful of games for Sarah to kind of compare and contrast.
But I'm happy with it. I'm happy with the list. Hopefully it gives a good little snapshot of the type of games I'm into and maybe gives you an idea of something you can add to your collection.
So without any further ado, Sarah, tell us your 10th favorite game of all time.
My 10th favorite game is Shadows over Camelot.
Hey, that's perfect.
Yeah.
The trumpet kind of matches the whole thing.
Yeah. So Shadows over Camelot is my favorite cooperative game that I've ever played for a few reasons. Number one, you can play it with up to 8 people. So that's really fun. And
with the expansion. 7 normally.
Okay. Yeah. And I also found, unlike other cooperative games, you really do make decisions as a whole table. Some cooperative games, it's easy for one person to just kind of take the lead and everyone's like, oh yeah, sure, let's do that. It also has lots of different challenges on the board. You can go to different places to do different things. So I always like options in games, as you'll see. There's this trader mechanic where potentially one person is dealt a trader card, and they can kind of do little things to sabotage the mission because they're playing cards face down. Everyone's playing cards face down at times, and so they can pretend to be on board when they're actually going against the team, which is just really fun. And then you kind of get suspicious of each other, and yeah, I really liked it. We also just had a couple really memorable playthroughs of it when we lived in Toronto, so that's my number 10.
Yeah, this game is amazing in terms of, as long as you have a couple experienced players, you can get a lot of new players around the table and still have a really good time with them. So really enjoy that aspect of the game. Like Sarah mentioned, the kind of hidden information in the different areas of the board and the moves that you make for a really great way for the trader to stay secret. Yeah. So yeah, it creates a lot of fun and a lot of ways to hide for the trader, a lot of suspicion thrown on the trader. Good stuff. Really great game.
This game has really intriguing cover art. Maybe my favorite board game cover of all time. It is Abyss.
Wow, this is your favorite board game cover?
No, I hate the cover. I actually was legitimately worried that it was going to scare our kids. When it was accessible on our shelf, I was like, put that away. It's terrifying. Yeah, I do not like the cover at all. Unnecessary. It also doesn't really match the game for me. I don't know. The cover the artwork inside the game is really beautiful and intriguing and creative, but yeah, not my favorite cover. I do really like Abyss though. It kind of is like a sweet spot for me in that medium weight category. It has lots of strategy, lots of choice, but it's still ultimately a fairly quick and light game overall, medium. There's lots of different things going on. Yeah, oh man. Another thing that I really love about board games in general is when they can have sort of like a creative component that I haven't played in other games. And so one of the things I like about Abyss is you're collecting cards throughout the game, which you're ultimately going to use to buy
Lords.
But they also help with endgame scoring. You want the highest or lowest? Highest.
Yeah, you want the highest value. You want one of the highest value.
Yeah, so again, it just adds this layer when you're picking up cards of how you're going to use it, if that's going to be advantageous at the end of the game. Yeah, I don't know. I like it. it has lots of layers.
Yeah. Essentially, it has a really cool drafting mechanic that works kind of like, instead of the person who's revealing the cards that you're drafting for being able to have first choice, the other players around the table have choice first. And so they can buy that card off of the player whose turn it is. And then when everyone else has either bought something or passed, then the player whose turn it is can choose which card to pick up from the drafting row. And so it's this kind of neat, like, you're seeing things, it's your turn, but you're seeing things get taken that are really good. And then you're ultimately using these cards to purchase lords, which have either ongoing or one-time special abilities that have points on them, or keys. And if you get 3 keys on your lords, then you get these kind of bases, these sort of land tiles that score points and endgame scoring tiles, essentially. But Sarah's right. The real heart of this game is the way that you spend your initial cards that you have, because the values that you keep in your hand and also the values that you spend will have endgame scoring potential for you. And the theme is really fun, this underwater political intrigue, but really it's just a nice medium weight mechanical board game.
And a clarification, you do score the lowest card in your hand in each suit. And that's why if you have a 5, which is the highest, you don't want to pick up anything else in that suit, because the 5 is technically your lowest.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good. Check it out, Abyss. Okay, number 8.
Number 8.
Cartographers.
Hey, this is a good list.
Yeah, Cartographers is relatively new to our collection, but I was pleasantly surprised. I really like spatial reasoning games and kind of like drawing. So yeah, it was really neat to map out a little landscape. And yeah, again, I really like choice in games. Like, should I put this little forest grove over here or over here? It affects other things in different ways. So yeah, I really like that puzzle aspect of how to fit the pieces together best. And again, really light. It was quick. We played it while our kids were like doing their own thing. So that's definitely a bonus for us in this stage of life. We can't really set up a huge game unless it's at night when I'm really tired. So yeah, really liked Cartographers, a nice, easy little game.
Yeah, Cartographers is amazing. We've talked about it before on the channel. I really enjoy just the scoring dimension, where there's 4 rounds of scoring, and each season has a different scoring, where it'll say like the A scoring and the B scoring are what you're going to score this season, and then the B and the C, and the C and the D, then the D and the A. So the first thing you're going to score on the first round, you're going to be scoring on the last round. So you don't want to like leave that. You want to keep building towards that. And then you're also going to want to build towards things that are coming down the line so that you can score big when it comes, but you also don't want to ignore what you're scoring this turn. And that just makes it really cool.
Yeah. What was it on your list? Was it on your list?
Yeah. It was down a little lower.
Okay.
It was in the 80s, I think.
Nice.
Yeah. But it was there.
Well, yeah, that's probably the same, because you've probably played way more games than me. So my 8 is in your 80 range.
Okay. Amazing.
Perfect. Okay. My 7th favorite game is a game that I really enjoyed playing and remember almost nothing about. Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig.
Hey, good.
All I remember is having a really fun time, and somehow you're scoring with people on either side of you. Like you're kind of cooperating with people on either side of you. Mm-hmm. And it just made for this really cool kind of dynamic or balance where it's competitive but a little bit cooperative.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
The neat thing about the game, again, is the scoring, where you're going to score points for your least scoring points castle. Okay, so you're working on 2 castles, and you're going to score whatever your least scoring castle is. And so it really forces you to want to do well with both partners. And so you're drafting 2 tiles at a time. One you're going to give to one castle, one you're going to give to the other.
Okay.
And the different types of tiles score in different ways, like continuous lines or what level they're on, these kinds of things. Simple sort of scoring ways. I think this game is excellent and amazing and fun.
How many players is it?
Yeah, so I think it's up to 7.
Okay.
Over
Yeah,
here.
I came
3
down-
to 7.
I came down to make my list, saw it on the shelf, and was like, oh yeah, I loved that game. I want to play it again. So if you live in our area, comment below if you want to play Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig.
We'll have you over. We'll get a bunch of people together. We'll have 7 people together. We'll
Yeah,
play
come
an
on
amazing
over.
game.
Come on over. And then Shadows over Camelot right after.
Yes, and if you don't live in the area, just fly in.
Yeah. Okay, number 6.
Number 6.
My number 6 is Tiny Towns.
This list is amazing.
Yeah.
This is so good.
I'll dedicate that one to Curtis. I really like Tiny Towns, again, because of that spatial reasoning. You're building on your board this tiny little town. The theme is really cute and fun. And again, you have choices, right? Like, how does
How do these games play? Tiny Towns, essentially, you either play sort of bingo style, where one player, a piece calls out a building material, so like wood, hay, glass, whatever, and they're just different colored cubes. And then you have to put that cube on your board. And then there's cards that represent different buildings that you'll be able to build. They have a different polyomino shape that you have to construct in particular color types in order to build. And so you fill these little squares on your board with cubes, and then once you've completed that polyomino shape, then you can remove all of those cubes and then put the building of that type on one of those squares where those cubes had occupied. And so it's this really interesting puzzle where your board keeps on expanding its fullness and you're kind of restricted, and then you build something and you get spaces back. And so it keeps on, but like every time you peel back, there's still less than there was the time before because you're still putting buildings out there. So it's kind of trying to optimize the amount of space that you're using every time.
And there is a chance that you won't get the building material that you need, and that's really frustrating. But also the scoring changes each game just a little bit, so that keeps it interesting. And we bought this game from a board game cafe in Hamilton, Ontario. We just did like a day trip when our kids were really little, and it was just a really lovely time at the cafe, and it was like surprisingly kid-friendly. They had like a high chair for us and all sorts of accommodations. So yeah, it just felt really neat to buy it there. Yeah, it was just like a nice token or souvenir from that little trip. So yeah, we've played that one a lot. Number 5.
Hey, we're
Halfway
speeding
there.
along. Boom, 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 boom.
Okay, my number 5 is Llama Land.
Llama Land made it this high on your list of games of
believe
all
it?
time. I can't believe it.
I was really impressed with Llama Land. Again, I have this, when Daniel was first introducing me to board games, I was like, wow, this is so cool, this is so creative, this is so unique. And then I kind of hit this dry spell where I was like, I don't like it as much as these other games we've played, or I just felt like games weren't really impressing me like they used to. And Llama Land, I was pleasantly surprised. I think maybe my expectations are lower after that experience of not being as impressed for a while. But yeah, I really liked Llama Land. Again, really cute, light, fun theme. We played it with a 10-year-old. She did really well and really enjoyed it. But basically, you're like building this 3-dimensional landscape.
Yeah. It's layered.
Yeah, again, like fitting little tiles together.
Yeah, a bunch of polyomino pieces, fairly chunky polyomino pieces.
I don't even know what that means.
Tetris pieces.
Okay, yeah. They're Tetris pieces. Yeah. Polyomino pieces, if we want to be technical. And you're covering up resources that you're going to get.
Yeah.
But also you have to keep track of how high your structure's getting. You want a certain number of llamas on each level, potentially. Yeah, lots of different ways to score. But yeah, just a neat little puzzle.
Unlike, this is often compared to Baron Park, another game by the similar designer. And with that, you have to totally complete one square before you get a new square to build on. This, you can kind of go all the way up in this direction and just sort of like, you can just sort of let the puzzle be as flexible as you need it to be to get the resources that you need to spend resources.
But yeah, that's a good point. There's a lot of options. It's not like, you don't feel as restricted if it's not frustrating. Like, oh, where do I put this piece? Like, I can't play this round. So yeah, and the meeples, the llama meeples are really cute. Yeah, fun theme. Okay, you'll like this one.
Okay, I'm liking them all so far.
My number 4 game of all time
Of all time.
is Lost Cities.
Wow. That's good.
So Lost Cities.
That's why you put it into frame.
Yeah. Yeah. Lost Cities is a really simple card game. It kind of reminds me of Solitaire.
Yeah.
In that you're building these stacks of cards. Like, do you start with 10 or 1? Start with 1 because you can put a thumbs up first.
Yeah.
1 or 2 or 3 thumbs up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
1 or 2. Yeah.
But anyway, you're just, you have a hand of cards, you can draw cards, you can discard cards, but you're trying to play in a single color or suit from 1 to 10. You can leave as many cards out as you want, but the more cards you have in that suit consecutively, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, the higher your score is. And you can add this thumbs up card in that suit, which doubles your score, I think, or something like that.
Doubles or triples or yeah.
Yeah, but there's 5 colors and it's just a 2-player game. You're kind of working against each other. And so when your opponent discards a card to pick up the card that they want that would be advantageous to them, you can pick up what they just put down. And so they have to be careful, even if they're not going for white, they have to be careful not to discard white cards or not to do it before you've played past that number, if that makes sense. So you're trying to fill out those rows as best you can, but sometimes you just have to abandon a color.
Well, I think your turn is play and discard.
Yeah.
So you're always having to discard a card.
Yeah.
And sometimes you want to and sometimes you don't.
Yeah. Really simple little game, probably the lightest game on my list, but it made it because Daniel and I played this super early in our relationship when we were just friends, and I feel like I fell in love with him when we were spending all those hours together playing board games and not studying. So, yeah. Lost Cities. Check it out. It's good.
Great for couples.
Yeah.
if you have somebody you want to fall in love with, say, hey, you want to play Lost Cities with me?
Yeah. Okay. We're going to go from a game that you love to a game that you hate. A little bit. You a little bit hate it.
Do I a little bit hate it?
Oh, my number 3 is Emo Tap.
Oh, you know what? But not actually. I kind of love this game. But...
I love this game. I typically do not like games with direct conflict, especially when it's kind of like sabotage. So, for example, Manhattan Project. Your opponent, you're building, and then your opponent can like just kind of chip away at what you've been working towards. But for some reason, Emo Tap has that competitive direct conflict element, and it's like the only one I like in any game, and I like it so much. So I think overall Emo Tap is a fairly light game, and it has different options for scoring. I think 3 or 4 different options for scoring, and basically you're sending these little ships with different colored cubes. Each player has a different color, sending these little ships to the various locations where you can score, or little boats, I guess.
Yeah.
So you can send someone's boat to a different location than they intended to go. Just messes up with their plans, but they're still going to score points. And it's a short and light game, so it's not like you've been working for hours building something and then someone is kind of destroying it. It's just like this neat little competitive, I'm going to send the boat where I want to go even though you don't want to go to that space. Yeah, really fun and light overall, and I really like the different ways you can score. I think they're really creative and neat.
And one thing that we discovered was that it's not going to be advantageous for you to be messing with your opponents. Like, it's always going to be best for you to do the move that's best for you.
Yeah.
So you're not going to be arbitrarily messing with your opponents unless it's a particular round where you go with that boat doesn't really matter or whatever.
Yeah.
So that lightens the sort of jerkiness of it.
But yeah, basically do not like any sort of conflict or direct conflict in games, but Emo Tap just like has a sweet spot for me. Really fun. Number 2. Any guesses? Oh. No, don't guess.
Okay. Because I haven't seen a few things.
Yeah, well, afterwards you can tell me what was missing.
Okay, sure.
Okay, number 2 is Luxor.
Wow. Yeah. Yes, of course. But this is leaving out. Oh dear. Okay.
Okay, so I really liked this game. I have a confession to make. The day that you bought it, I was like so annoyed that you were buying a board game because we took this little like day trip. We were visiting this small town. Daniel had applied to a job there, but we'd never been there. So we were like, we should check out this town. It was a lovely little like date day, just the two of us. I bought a book from a used bookstore and Daniel's like, I'm going to buy a game. And I was like, why is he buying a game? Like, I've grown a lot in this area.
These are the tensions in our marriage. You know?
Yeah. So anyway, he bought this game. I kind of like didn't say anything.
It was on sale.
Okay.
And I had found it ahead of time. Like I knew that it was going to be on sale at this place. Okay. And so I was like, and it was out of print most other places at the time.
I don't think I knew those things.
No, you never know.
I just bit my tongue.
I never tell you these things.
But we got it home and Daniel's like, I really want to play this with you. And I was like, like that game that I was so mad that you bought. And then I loved it. So it was so funny. Like, yeah, I was like, okay, I'll reluctantly play this game that you had to have. And then it's my top two. Yeah.
Second favorite game of all time. Look at that.
Joke's on me.
I'm going to buy whatever game I want, whatever I want now.
There you go.
I don't think I do that.
No. I told you on camera, so you couldn't get mad. Luxor for me, maybe I had low expectations specifically because of that backstory, but it just surprised me with some really cool elements that I've never seen in other games. So it's again, medium weight, light. It's pretty light.
Yeah, light to medium.
Yeah.
Family weight.
You're racing around a board, kind of like on this track inward to the center of the pyramid, but there's a couple cool things. You draw a card at the beginning of your turn.
At the end of your turn.
At the end of your turn. And it goes into the center of your 5-card hand. And you can only play a card from either end of your hand. So I just thought that was a really cool component. You could draw a card that's really great, but you can't play it right away. But you can strategically play down one side of your hand or ignore cards that you're not interested in playing. But basically the cards let you move different numbers of spaces. And then there's also these tiles that are flipped on the board, which just adds another layer. I forget what the tiles. It's my favorite game, really. It's amazing. Okay.
So the tiles that are on the board are different kind of set collection things. So there's like vases and sphinxes and things. And so you have a certain number of adventures that are going through. And when you get a certain number of your adventures on a tile, then you can collect that tile for a set collection thing. But then they'll sometimes reveal a spot that will allow you to put a new tile there. And those tiles will be things like a little artifact that doesn't have any points tied to it, but it can go towards your sets. Or maybe it's a tunnel that will take you kind of all the way around the board. Or
there was this really cool playthrough that we had where one end of the tunnel was revealed fairly close to the end, fairly close to the center of the pyramid. And then late in the game, when I was like really close to winning, the other end of the portal, so to speak, secret tunnel opened up right near the beginning. And Daniel was able to sneak through the tunnel and beat me. But yeah, that's the other part of the game that I completely left out. You have multiple people, multiple adventurers. And sometimes they can like meet up with the one who's further, or you can just race a single one as quickly as possible. But basically, why I love this game is there's lots of options. There's options, like you can always play one or the other card. You can move one or the other adventure. How many do you have?
No, well, you start with 2, and then there's 3 more, I think, that you can get along the way. So when you pass a certain point, a new adventure of your color gets sent to the beginning of the temple or whatever.
Even there's spaces that kind of like propel you forward. So it's like, oh, I could use my 3 here to gain this little bonus, or I could use my 3 on this other adventure, and that's actually going to move them 6 spaces because they'll land on a
move 4.
Yeah.
Sarah's being called by her children, so we will be right back. And we're back. So you're number 1. I am like so confused because when you were upstairs, I was looking at the shelf and I was like, there's this, and there's this, and there's this that haven't made it yet. And so what was this going to be? Should I tell you what my things are that I'm thinking of? Or do you want to say it first? After. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, ready? Drum roll. Rajas of the Gan.
Wow! It made it! I was not sure if it was, but I'm very happy.
Yeah, I love this game. This is kind of like on the heavier side of games that I like.
Yeah.
But it's like right up my alley. Again, tons of choice in this game. So you roll dice. The number on the die lets you go to different spaces on the board, and there are a lot of different spaces you can go to. There's always special abilities. So you can always use a 3 to gain a certain bonus. Same with all the numbers on the dice. So, and there's spots that get taken.
Yeah.
But there's also spots where you can kind of always go. So it has that nice, I don't like games that are super frustrating, where you're really restricted in your options. There's also this river that you can move up along. The bonuses get better the higher that you go, but you can't spend all your time there because you also have to be focusing on the other areas of the board. There's this whole kind of like subsection of the game where you're laying tiles and building your own little, like an area.
Yeah, it's like a pathway.
Yeah.
That connects to the edges of the board to get different points. And
then there's like a market kind of place where you can go to gain different resources. But basically, the whole game is based on this unique scoring track where around the outside of the board, you can move up the scoring track for how much money you've earned or collected. And then in the opposite direction, you can move up the scoring track for like fame or prestige, which are also different points that you collect along the way. And the winner of the game ends when those two tracks intersect for the same color or player. And I've never...
And the winner then is the person who has the largest gap.
Yeah.
Between their two.
If the other player.
Okay. Enough.
Really why I like this game is I like this game because I had like this winning streak. We played it a bunch of times.
Where I just stopped playing it. We should bust it out again.
Yeah. We haven't played it in a long time, but it's still, obviously has a soft spot for me. Daniel later told me that it was designed by a husband and wife, which I thought was really neat.
Inca and Marcus Brand.
Yeah, great job, guys. I really like this game. Yeah.
That's a great choice.
Thanks. If you haven't heard of it, check it out, Rajas of the Ganges. I think we're going to have a games night with all of these.
Yeah, Sarah's Top 10 Games Night.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this is a fantastic list, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah.
There were a few that didn't make the top 10.
Well, okay, so can I tell
what did you think?
So what I'm kind of like confused about is that Karuba is not on this list.
Yeah.
And Dream Home isn't on this list.
Yeah.
One that I'm not surprised about, but I was hoping was going to make your list was Dune Imperium. And then a couple more were Stone Age and Mr. Jack.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure if Stone Age was going to reach your list.
No.
And then Mr. Jack. I thought you did like Mr. Jack. I'm surprised that didn't make the list.
Yeah. No, I like Mr. Jack. So the two that like just missed the list from that app list generator were Bora Bora.
What?
I know. I saw it on the shelf and I was like, actually, I really liked Bora Bora.
Yeah, you do.
And Hadrian's Wall.
Hadrian's Wall?
Yeah, I almost cut Cartographers for Hadrian's Wall. They're kind of similar for me in that they're both relatively new.
Those are very surprising cuts for me. Wow.
Other honorable mentions, Dice Town and Coal Baron.
Yeah.
Because I was introduced to those when I was meeting your family for the first time, so those have a soft spot for me. Kill Dr. Lucky also was like fun. And For Sale, Bang the Dice Game. Those were games we played with my side of the family. Yeah, those are my top 10. I feel good about those top 10.
Awesome. They will be carved in stone forever.
And if you have any suggestions for me based on that list, kind of that like medium weight game.
Good idea.
Spatial reasoning games, or if any of those games sparked a game that we haven't mentioned, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Maybe we can check it out next. Maybe I'll buy it one day when we're
Well, I'm really angry.
Yeah,
and I'm saying, why is she buying a game? Oh my goodness, I just bought a book.
Yeah, so it was so nice to finally meet you all, spend some time with you all on the channel. Hopefully I'll be back someday.
Yeah, this would be awesome. I think you'll definitely be back. This is good.
If you don't want to see me back on the channel, do not put that on the comments.
Yeah, that would be crushing.
Yeah, so nice to see you guys. And make sure to direct message Father Greg about his mysterious PowerPoint assignment because... Yeah.
for clarity. All right, party people, like the video. If you did, in fact, enjoy it, subscribe to the channel. That would be awesome. Share this video. Just say, this is fun. This is a good top 10 list. Here it is. And you can share this one on your Facebook too, Sarah.
Yeah,
if
I'll
you'd like.
definitely share it. I hope my career as a YouTube personality really takes off. So, yeah.
So until next time, party people, have the best day.